Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Macomb Manufacturers Hot Topic session. My name is Jim Ahi. I'm from the Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development. Today I'm going to be acting as Seth MacFarlane, kind of like the Academy Awards, number one, a little different, couple differences. Number one, we didn't have a red carpet, but you guys all deserve the red carpet. And number two, I won't be doing any politically incorrect jokes. So just going to get on with the program. Our department has partnered with the City of Sterling Heights in bringing you these Hot Topic series, and we wish to thank the city for helping us in all their efforts, and we also wish to thank the Economic Development Manager in Sterling Heights, Casey Green, who is here with us today. She's been instrumental in putting this series forward and making it work. So Casey, thank you, great job, and we're ready to go. Okay. In putting together this series, we had a couple of meetings with manufacturers, and they kind of told us what they were looking for, and that's what led to this whole series of hot topics. These are concerns and issues that are currently facing manufacturers in our community, and how do we address them, how do they address them? So that's what the whole series is about today, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on in the community, what the issues are, and how we're reacting to them. There were a number of companies and people that were instrumental in meeting with us and helping us put the series together. I'm going to call them out, if you don't mind, just to recognize them. The first one is Kevin Lacombe of Fitzpatrick Manufacturing. Kevin. Yeah, there's Kevin back there. Valiena, Allison of Experi-Metal, right up here. AGS Automotive was another one of the corporate sponsors, and they have a representative here today. I believe it's Jennifer Risk. Jennifer? Thank you, Jennifer, AGS. And last but not least, Forcia was also a corporate sponsor, and their representative today is Matt Cezalu, and Matt, I probably butchered that name, so I apologize. Thank you. But we are very happy that you companies are very proactive and want to help move the county forward. The whole objective is to help manufacturing, and everybody knows in Macomb County, manufacturing is one of the key elements of our economy. So it's important for us to keep this segment healthy, growing, and that we address the concerns which are affecting the companies right now. Again, this series is just to provide a forum where the manufacturers can talk about the issues and what other companies are doing to address these issues and get them resolved. So what's going to happen today? If you haven't been here before, Casey is going to lead a discussion with our panelists here. She'll introduce the panelists in just a few minutes. And we're going to learn from our panelists about our subject today. The subject today is employee retention. A couple of the previous sessions here have been about recruiting and finding employees. Today we're going to talk about, once you find them, how do you keep them? Okay, these are all key issues that are affecting the manufacturers. So once she opens the discussion with the panelists, then at the end of it, she'll open it up to the floor, and there'll be room for comments, discussion, and additional questions if you have them. And we're going to do this all in 1 hour. Believe it or not, 1 hour. Okay? So in just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Casey, but before I do that, I want to make a few announcements. First of all, I want to thank Dupont Performance Coatings for sponsoring our lunch today. Thank you very much, Dupont. I haven't had lunch yet, but I'm assuming it's great. And then also, in the folder that you received, I'm walking away from the mic, I know. I'm not used to working with a mic or standing with a podium. I don't do this very well. In your folder is a survey on today's event. So please complete the survey and give us your feedback on the event, what you thought. And I believe there's also an opportunity on the survey to either request assistance or more information on the topic today or any other topics that we can help you with. With that, I believe I'm going to turn it over to Casey, and she's going to introduce our panelists. Thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoy the day.
Well, thank you, Jim, and welcome all of you to the Velocity Center here. We're really grateful to have you here for our program today and excited to welcome you to the center. We're also very excited to have the participation of our wonderful panelists today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. We have Virginia Gronley from Dupont Performance Coatings. Thank you, Virginia. We also have Valiena Allison from Experi-Metal, located in Sterling Heights. And we're really grateful to have Dr. Lee Meadows here today from Walsh College. As Jim mentioned, we are going to be considerate of your time today and get you out of here by 1 o'clock as promised. So we're going to get going right away. And with that, we're going to start with Virginia and ask that you tell us a little bit about some of the things that Dupont Performance Coatings is doing to address the issue today, which is employee retention.
Great, thank you. I'm excited to be here today, so thank you to everybody for attending. Before I came, I actually Googled the word retention. And if you look that up, it actually states that it's the continued possession or control of something. And so I thought that was quite interesting because we don't want to control our employees. We want them to choose us as an employer. So we all know it's a competitive market, and you can't obtain and retain employees just from salaries. So we try to maintain a competitive salary base, but there's a lot of other things that we also offer to try to retain our employees. So one of them is we do performance-based compensation. So employees do receive a bonus award. Today we got our award, yay. So we do offer that as an incentive as well. We also offer a retirement savings plan or 401k, and we do a company match, so that's another incentive we do. And then we also offer what we call trainer's pay. So any employee that's interested in being a trainer at the site, we offer 7.5% above the, I think it's our resin rate, for anyone that's a trainer, and you have to go through a set of qualification to become a trainer. And then we also offer what we call a shift lead. So let's say you have an employee that might be interested in supervision, but they're not really sure if they want to take that move yet. We offer a 7.5% above salary for that position as well. And it gives them an opportunity to try out the shift lead, see if it's something they're interested in, and if it's not, they can go back to their old job. So it's another incentive that we offer. We have quite a variety of reward programs. One of them we do is what we call a recognition gram. So that could be supervisor to employee, peer-to-peer, where you recognize someone, and we have a little recognition grant that we would fill out of what they're being recognized for. We also do different global awards, night on the town awards. If somebody just went above and beyond, we might give them a dinner for two for a night on the town. We offer gift cards for employees, company items. It could be a t-shirt, a hat, anything like that where employees are going above and beyond that we want to recognize them. And then with Dupont, I'm sure most of you know, safety is number one to us. That's one of our core values, is to always perform your job safely, and we don't want people getting hurt at work or personally. So we have actually a safety award program. So we offer monthly safety meetings, and if employees attend the safety meeting, they get so many safety stamps. They can collect those stamps over time, and then there's a catalog. They can actually order different items based on different safety stamp values to recognize them for their safety performance. We do offer flexible work schedule. Depending on the job that you're in, if you're on the manufacturing floor, they can either swap shifts, they can change their hours, maybe they have a childcare issue. And then for those employees that are in those roles where they can telecommute, we do offer that option as well. We do tuition reimbursement. We have service anniversary and retirement anniversary awards where you can have some of your peers attend and either do cake, or you can have a smaller group and take them out to lunch, and the company pays for that as well. Obviously, we do paid vacation based on the amount of years you have for the service, paid jury duty, paid disability, meal allowance, and then obviously for any travel expenses, we pay all travel expenses. If we send an employee to training that's off-site, we pay for that mileage as well, and they can turn that in. And then we do have an on-site medical department, which is unusual. A lot of companies don't have that, and that really is a great benefit for us. So because we are a chemical company, there are a lot of risk and hazards in the business. So we have an on-site medical department. We have a doctor that's on staff and a couple nurses. So employees can go down at any time during working hours and get free blood tests, free physicals, EKGs, anything like that, and it's right there on site, which is really nice. And then what I'd like to tie it up with is where my current role at Dupont is the Learning and Development Consultant. That's a new role we've developed last year. And the key is, as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. So our focus is really to invest in our staff and leadership level all the way to the operator level. And what we're doing is we have developed quite a few different development programs from the staff to the operator level on anything from Microsoft Office skills to what we call soft skills. And I don't like to call them soft skills because to me that really makes or breaks an employee or a leader. So we really do focus on how to be a better leader so that way our managers and supervisors can lead their employees, and we want to be that example. So we're continuing that work. We offer anything from Lean Six Sigma training, coaching training, mentoring, problem solving, how to deal with conflict, how to handle pressure. So there's a lot of different programs that we offer. And I will say the feedback that we've received from our employees is this has been long overdue, something they really enjoy, and they're actually starting to seek me out and give me ideas on different topics. So I'm sure many of you have this experience where you might have someone that says, I'd like to be a supervisor. And you may have the training on how to do the technical piece of the job, but do we ever give them training on how to really conduct an effective performance review? Or how do you deal with conflict when you have an employee that's really emotional? So those are the kind of things that we are really trying to focus on. And our ultimate goal is that we want employees that are enthusiastic and motivated, and they want to come to work every day. They feel like it's a safe environment, and that we are investing in them so that they can be successful not only personally but professionally. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Virginia, for those perspectives from Dupont. Now we're going to hear from Valiena about a local company, Experi-Metal, on how they're addressing this issue. So, Valiena?
Good afternoon. My name is Valiena Allison, and I'm from a company called Experi-Metal. We are a prototype stamper. We do sheet metal stampings and assemblies for automotive, aerospace, military, homeland security, a myriad of different industries. And a lot of what Virginia was mentioning today, we also do the same thing. We're significantly smaller, obviously, than Dupont. We have about 145, 150 employees. We operate 24/7 in Sterling Heights. And similar to what Virginia mentioned regarding their core values, we live and die by a set of 5 core values. Basically, safety is number one, first and foremost in any type of manufacturing environment. Making sure that employees, visitors, everyone is safe is really number one. Secondly, it's quality. It's total customer satisfaction. It's making sure that we meet or exceed our customer expectations. Third, it's productivity, which is a consistently high throughput for all of our employees, managers, teams, etc. It's working smarter instead of working harder, because everybody's working hard. It's an unfailing positive attitude and a dedication to excellence, and it's teamwork and integrity. It's collaboration with coworkers where everybody puts in an honest day's work. I don't know if you can see this. I can pass it around, but it's just basically the globe, and it shows what our core values are. And we use it as a really good training and mentoring tool at all phases within the organization so that people understand what we're about from before they walk in the door, from the interview process. Also, visitors understand this. They see our safety video. It's all incorporated. So from a retention standpoint, I believe that it's easier to retain if they really understand what you're all about. Each entity has its own unique personality, just like each of us. And so if you can properly communicate that personality, then that individual will be able to tell if it's a good fit, because longevity is based on a good fit between employee and employer. The perfect employee doesn't exist, and certainly the perfect employer doesn't exist. So if you can find a good match, that's where you encourage retention. We also have monetary and non-monetary incentives that we use for retention. Among some of our monetary incentives are fair-based pay, and we do guaranteed employee performance appraisals. And I know that might sound kind of odd, but a lot of manufacturers don't do that. We're so worried about getting product out the door that sometimes we forget about our most cherished resource, which is our human resource. So we do a 30-day with no score so that the individual warms up to the process and understands what they're going to be evaluated on later. We do a 6-month, and then we do an annual in the year of the month of their anniversary of employment. We also have a fantastic pay-for-performance program. It's based on specific measurables by job description. There's a team component where everybody, whether they are the sheet metal department during the day, on the weekend, at night, the whole sheet metal team is one team. And they are evaluated for their performance targets versus their actual targets. And they earn more money as a team once they meet and then as they beat those targets. There's also attendance. There's also punctuality. There's also safety and quality objectives, and those are some of the more individual requirements on our PFP. I'm honored to say that when we began this program in January of 2010, I stated one day we'll be having a speech, and I won't have a stack of checks. So you probably won't like me as much that day, but I can say for the last 11 quarters, that has not occurred. And since this program has been put into practice, I have been fortunate to distribute bonuses to everyone within the facility that's eligible for the last 11 quarters. So that's been phenomenal. I also always reserve the right as the president and CEO to do a discretionary bonus. If I see someone just perform exceptionally, they deserve it. If they're going above and beyond, I should too. We do a very generous employee match for our profit share. Last year we matched 75 cents on the dollar with no questions asked and no maximums. So you put 10K in, you got 7,500, no questions asked. Employees love this. This is a huge plus when it comes to retention. We have a great referral program, and I know today we're talking about retention, but if you don't recruit them, you can't retain them, okay? And we had paid recruiters in the past and had mixed success. Nothing against recruiters, if there's any recruiters in the crowd. However, we came up with a plan that after 30 days of continuous active employment, we would do a $250 signing bonus to the new employee and also to the employee who referred that individual. After 6 months, they each give $500, and at their 1-year anniversary, they each get $1,000. So I'm proud to say that I was able to give away about $17,000 during 2012, and the individuals working in all levels of the organization can best pick their peers. They know what the expectations are, they know what the core values are, they live them. So they are just a very, very effective recruiting device. I also do random acts of cash, where occasionally I will walk around and see if we can locate an inventory item or challenge someone to give up smoking or do anything else, a core values check. We're an ISO certified facility, so we'll do an ISO check, and I tend to carry 20s in my pocket, and if you get the answer right, pay is based on performance. Also, we have a great continuous improvement program that we just instituted about 7 or 8 months ago with great success. It's open to every single person in the facility. They fill out a form. It can be a way to reduce waste. It can be to streamline a process. It can just be a way to make life better. And as they put their recommendations in, they discuss it with their supervisor. They post it for the whole world to see. And then there's a committee that's made up of all the different departments that reviews these. And we've put several into operation. As basic as, we're driving around one part of our facility where the trucks come and there's a blind spot, so let's put up a mirror. Everything to, let's seek some serious aerospace certifications so that we can be a world player in these market segments in the coming years. We do tuition reimbursement. There are more, but that's the primary monetary incentives. Some of the non-cash incentives are equally fun. I remember one day, it was Valentine's Day a few years ago, and we did a look hot for your hottie, and I brought in 6 or 7 different hairstylists, and everybody that wanted a haircut got a free haircut. So talk about, a quick way to make everybody happy, because most men don't plan for haircuts, believe it or not. They just don't, and so it was a great way. They went home, and their honey was happy. You probably don't get too many haircuts, huh? So it was a great way to do it.
I just go to the barbershop for the conversation.
I also think it's really important. I started as the receptionist almost 25 years ago, and I'm now the president and CEO. And I think that smiling is contagious. If you're having a good day, you're going to spread the love. I have a very open door policy. I personally deliver payroll every single pay period because it's that one-on-one connection that's important. It's making sure that employees understand that you're there, you've got their back. If they've got a problem, you'll listen. Strong focus, very generous budgets for employee training and development. You have to make sure that people feel important, people are able to reach their goals, and that you will support them financially, lend them an ear, help them get through it, provide the tools that they need to reach all of their career successes. We offer complimentary lunches to our salary personnel. We have a chef that comes in every day, and there's not a lot of peanut butter and jelly. We have really good lunches. We put a garden in during the summertime. We have fresh vegetables. It's a really nice incentive. As far as wellness, we do free annual flu shots. We do spouse flu shots at cost. We have biometric screening, cholesterol, blood pressure checks, etc. Quarterly lunch and learns where we bring a speaker in and we provide a healthy lunch. And if you follow the rules for wellness, you can receive up to a 20% discount on your out-of-pocket health insurance costs. So we have about a 65-70% participation in that. We have a wellness committee on site. Basically, I give them the budget, and they determine what is best for the company. as far as vision, dental, health, short-term disability, life, AD&D, all of the major insurances that we offer. We also do employee appreciation barbecues where the supervisors break out the grill. We have a sausage fest, we have burgers, we have chicken right in the facility. Makes people feel important. If we've done a great job on a program, if we've met or exceeded our targets, we will have a barbecue. I will bring in ice cream socials. We'll have ice cream socials on super hot days. Just again, to say thank you, to show appreciation for everyone's hard work. We of course do annual summertime picnics. This year our theme was all Michigan products. A couple hundred people, bring your kids. The spouses can meet, can get to know one another. We have raffles on the hour where we give away hats and t-shirts and that kind of thing. We new hires get a jacket or a hat or something to make them feel part of the team right away and joining the team. And really, it's all about just building loyalty. It's about having fun at work. It's about waking up and being engaged and being excited about facing your day. So those are the things from a monetary and a non-cash incentive that we use to retain employees at Experi-Metal.
All right. Good. Let's hold on the PowerPoint. We'll go there if we need it.
Okay,
All
Dr.
right.
Lee Meadows
If we
now.
need it, good. And you can't ask a professor to sit down and talk. We have to have room to roam around and all that. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Hi.
Hi.
As I was sitting here listening to my colleagues talk about some of the practical things that they do on the job, it occurred to me that what they were really talking about is how do you stay happy in a relationship? All right, I want you to think about that for a second because a number of us have been happy in relationships and some of us have not been happy in relationships. And I think there's some interesting characteristics that you think about. I guess I'm not talking about the unemployed brother-in-law who lays on the couch who's happy in that relationship for 6 or 7 months, because that's not the person we want working for us. Right? We're talking about how do you keep someone happy now that you have them in the relationship. And so if you begin to really think about some of the things that they've talked about and what appears to be some of the literature as well, they kind of laid out a nice foundation. When I heard what they were doing, I said, well, I'd be happy being in that relationship. Why? Because it's addressing many of my basic needs beyond just salary. I'm happy to go there. Ask yourself, when you're happy in the relationship, what's going on? What's part of the dialogue? Well, I think one of the things that's going on is when I'm in a happy relationship, it's clear to me about why I'm in that relationship and where that relationship is going. All right? We've all had that experience before, haven't we? You kind of sit there, look at the person and go, okay, where are we going with this? And there's no clear answer. And if it's not clear and it's ambiguous, what begins to happen is the relationship begins to deteriorate. So part of laying out this whole notion of retention is to be absolutely clear about where they're going. Well, Virginia and Valiena both talked about the fact that the organization is very clear about where they're going. So when recruiting individuals to come into your organization, somewhere within that recruitment process, there has to be some discussion about, let's be clear about what we're trying to do here and what we can accomplish here. And what are some of the things that are being laid out for you to make that happen as well? Because now that we've invested in you, we want you to invest back. And retention is really about being in a desirous relationship. And that has all kinds of implications when I think about it on the surface. But I want to work there and you want me to work there. I want to succeed and you want me to succeed. So what are the things that need to happen beyond just getting paid? Well, the environment that I've heard described in both of these situations is an environment conducive to retention. But like any relationship that you're in, you got to work at it. They have to work at it, and you have to work at it, and there has to be ongoing dialogue with the individuals who are actually doing the work about what's going on. The notion of I like this whole notion of you're just throwing cash at people just because they're standing there.
Not so much.
But think about that as a concept. You've got a good idea here. Let me reward you for that. You made an interesting difference here. Let me reward you for that. Let me see that let me try out opportunities. Maybe I want to be a shift supervisor, and maybe I don't. but I don't know until I actually get involved with it one way or the other. And if it turns out that I'm not equipped for that, guess what? I don't get fired. All right? We recognize that this is a relationship that I don't want to be in, but I can be very happy in other kinds of relationships as well. So setting that tone, setting that bar, setting the environment in such a way that individuals, when they come to work for you, they have to be able to see their own future in your future. And their future oftentimes is tied to some things that they want to accomplish, and they can see that accomplishment through your organization. And I think part of retention is making sure that individuals understand that when you come here, it's not just about the organization's goals, it's about the goals you're trying to accomplish. We're going to build a relationship here. And wherever that relationship leads, it can happen here in this organization. And so having that fundamental understanding that I am in a relationship with either 100 and some odd folks or a large organization like Dupont, but how do you personalize it in such a way that when they do come in on a day-to-day basis, they say, I'm coming in, I'm investing in this relationship. I'm giving time and energy into this relationship, and they're giving time and energy into the relationship with me as well. Because those kinds of things, the conducive environment, the growth and opportunities, things beyond the wage, things beyond just the compensation, but the pure recognition that when I come into this place, this is the place that I want to be in. And so I don't think of it as work. I think of it as just an extension of a wonderful relationship. So breaking that relationship down, making sure we understand that we are in this thing together, and not just from that rah-rah standpoint, but the recognition that we're trying to grow an organization here. And guess what? We believe that you can help us grow that relationship. And when you commit to that relationship, then there's a lot of growth that we experience with that, and we will grow through this thing together. Some of the other strategies to think about, I had a bunch of stuff I was going to put on PowerPoint, but they covered it so well. So what I'm going to do, and this is spontaneous, I'm going to ask my two colleagues to get up here with me, and we're going to start the dialogue. We're going to start the dialogue about this process of retention. And let me just start by asking questions. So based on, is it a relationship?
It's a relationship. It's a marriage.
Okay. You need to come up here and talk about it.
And it's happily ever after.
Well, let's get this wiring. So it's a marriage. Why do you say that?
Well, because in any relationship, but specifically a marriage, you have to give and take.
Right.
Okay? And sometimes you're not sure if today you're going to be given or today you're going to be taken, but you know that one or the other is coming.
All right.
In order for both parties to be happy in the relationship. You're growing together.
Exactly.
You're learning together, and you're experiencing highs and lows together. And that's all part of a marriage or any good relationship.
And for those of you who've been married for a while, isn't that a form of retention?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. What do you think?
I agree. It takes effort, and you have to put effort into any relationship, and there's always two sides. So it's really, really critical that you have active listening skills when employees are talking to you, and that you're really focused on them. You want them to feel like they're the most important person in the room when you're talking to them. And a lot of times that takes effort on our part. So that is, to me, very, very key to maintain that positive relationship, and you want employees to feel like you value them so that they can enjoy coming to work every day.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that the both of them talked about when they were describing their whole process, to me, they weren't describing a day at work. They were talking about things that they do to build a relationship within their organizations. Whether you're the president, CEO, or a lead person or whatever, it's a leadership role in which they have actively involved in being a good leader, but they're not really working. What they're doing is building and nurturing and making sure that the structure and the opportunities that they put in place continue to be reinforced. So in a lot of ways, they are reinforcers of a retention strategy that's been put in place. So one of the things you might want to begin to think about is when I start to engage in some of the strategies that they've talked about, what's my role in this process? Right? Am I the kind of person who gets out on the floor every day with cash in hand, walking around and going,
not every day.
Does anybody want a 20? What am I bid for this 20? All right. Or the kind of individual who, when you are engaged in a conversation with someone, that you're truly focused in on what they're talking about and what they're discussing with you, so you begin to really think about, all right, now how does the organization begin to link up with that thought process? Because it's very important that not only are we giving feedback, but we're also receiving feedback. Because what makes a relationship work? Feedback. Right? We got to know. Sometimes even that tough truth that wives are capable of delivering, even that tough truth works extremely well in the workplace. Because I want to hear, right? When I was a director of training, I wanted to hear from my staff, what is it that's working and what isn't working? And sometimes even the best ideas that I thought I had that weren't working, I needed to hear that. Right? And reward the fact that they had additional ideas that make the process continue to move on as well. So
But the
really
difference
go ahead.
probably is that he doesn't have to ask his wife. She just tells him. Sometimes at work you do have to ask.
Yeah.
You can't imagine, people don't have a crystal ball. And so you have to ask. You have to monitor situations. You have to know which questions to ask at the right time in order to get accurate feedback so you can make a difference. You can be a coach and a mentor, and you can learn right with them. It's a very fun process.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I will say on both of their comments, that's one thing. I just did a class on how to conduct an effective performance review, or if you're an employee, how to prepare an effective performance review. And one of the things I highly, highly stressed is, as an employee, no matter what level you are at, seek that feedback and ask for honest feedback. Sometimes it may not be what you want to hear, but you need that honest feedback to know what are your weaknesses and where do you need to develop, and think of those as opportunities, because really the ball's in your court to turn that around. So it's really important to provide, if you are a supervisor, a manager, a leader in your organization, provide that honest feedback. It is very crucial.
And there really shouldn't be any surprises in an employee performance appraisal.
Right.
It should not be a time that somebody's going, oh no, are you kidding me, or yay. This should be a review of what's occurred over the time frame. So I also encourage employees to have this collaboration, to put together a list, keep track of the fabulous things that you did, and bring it to the performance appraisal. Your supervisor is looking at numerous people over an extended period of time. It's human nature to remember really good, really bad, and really recent. Help your supervisor. Bring up experiences that perhaps, upon reflection, you thought if you were given a similar circumstance, you might treat it in a different form or fashion. That's how we all learn. That's how we can teach our supervisors. I mean, in many cases, you have to manage your manager in order to be successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because one of the things that becomes one of the interesting contributions to retention are people who are in management roles. And that oftentimes they miss signals and talk about retention just as the person's getting ready to walk out the door. And that's not the time to have the discussion. The discussion had to be right at the beginning. And the person has to be approachable enough so that if an individual has concerns or issues that they wish to address, that they can talk about that person with that as well. It doesn't do an individual any good when they're walking out the door to say to them, you're making a big mistake, because they've already had too much time to think about it. So oftentimes the thinking is, well, we'll just get another replacement. We'll just find another body. We'll just do this and just do that. But as your colleagues have already pointed out, there is an investment in the selection and recruitment process. And so money gets spent to bring on good people. Once you have good people, then it has to be clear to managers and supervisors, we're trying to keep good people as well. Now remember, retention is about keeping good people, not just bodies, but it's about keeping good people. If they aren't good people, then obviously something happened in the selection process, and there should be something that says, yes, you need to move on. You need to try other employment. But for those folks who are really working it for the organization, those are the ones you don't want walking out the door, because in a talent competitive environment in which you all work in nowadays, it's easy to move from one organization to the next. In fact, I would even go so far as to make the argument, we have trained an entire generation of folks to think like that. That it's not about loyalty to a specific organization, but loyalty to my career and what's the best option for that. Well, I'd make the argument that you can still have a 30-year employee if career opportunities and the environment is such that the individual wants to stay there, even despite of the fact that there might be other options. Have you found that to be true as well?
We have a hire slow, fire fast philosophy.
Okay.
You got to have a good fit in the beginning. You got to provide challenge, mentoring, opportunity, cash and non-cash, all of those things together. Again, it has to be a good relationship on both sides. But sometimes, despite the best of efforts, the fit just isn't good. And so at that point in time, you shake hands and you part friends. But yeah, it's a very competitive environment right now, and especially younger folks, and maybe it's their first or second job, they do tend to hop around a bit more than I see with others. All I can speak about is us in this point, but at Experi-Metal, we do have a significant percentage of our population that's been there more than 15, 20 years. We also have a large amount that have been there less than 5 years. So the key to a successful organization is to have people in all levels of learning within your organization, those brand new trainees, the upgraders that have developed some skills and mastered some skills but still have a ways to go, and then your well-seasoned, all-around experienced folks who can train the others. Now, if you look at that, it's not an age thing, it's an experience thing. So a lot of times you'll have a trainee come in who's some young whippersnapper who can show the seasoned guy how to use Excel or how to put in his time ticket correctly. So there's got to be a sharing where each individual has something to learn and also something to train, and that helps equalize the balance within an organization.
And key word was experience, not seniority. Because even to this day, I have an 18-year-old son who is absolutely proficient at things that are going on the computer. I have no idea from time to time what he's doing. I suspect that from time to time if a missile goes off in a silo in North Dakota, he's had something to do with that. And I can't explain it. But anytime I have a computer issue, I go talk with him and say, well, son, how do I do this? And of course, he gives me that, Dad, you're so stupid, it's like this. But he has that experience, right? I can still throw him out the house because I got the seniority. But he's got the experience. And oftentimes that is the key when working with this notion of retention across the generations as well. Where does the experience best fit into the scenario? Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and we have the same situation. The majority of our employees at our site are 15 years plus. We're very fortunate. We don't have a lot of turnover most of the time. Thank goodness. When we hire someone, they're pretty much there for the majority of their career. But I think it's really key to talk about, like you said, we want to retain employees, but as good leaders, if you have employees that are not performing, you need to be holding them accountable. Because what will happen if you don't hold them accountable, those great employees are going to get frustrated, and eventually they will leave. And I love the quote that says, people don't quit companies, they quit people. So it's really important to be a great leader and identify those employees that are not performing and hold them accountable so that you're not frustrating those employees that are going above and beyond.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know time goes by quickly. How are we doing? Because I know there's probably some Q&A we need to do as well.
Yeah, how about 5 more minutes?
Okay. Of us just talking or them? Those? Sure. Okay. Okay, we're good? Okay. All right, so how about a couple other things that I want us to think about as we move forward. When laying out a retention strategy, here's a question you might want to ask yourself. What would keep me here? If I was an employee coming into this organization, what would keep me here? Is it tuition reimbursement? Is it location? Is it the relationship that I have with my supervisor? Is it the compensation? Is it the merit? Is it the child care? What are those things that would keep me in this organization? Think about that question, and then ask yourself, then what things need to be in place to ensure that I'm a happy employee here? Remember, the organization isn't completely and totally responsible for your happiness. What it does is provide the environment in which you can be a happy employee. But when you come into work and say, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm kind of angry. Well, that's not the organization's fault. I want you happy, but I want you happy because you're happy working there. All the other things that come with that, that's individual personality, that's behavior, that's stuff that we don't have any control over. But we can make sure that the environment in which you are functioning is conducive enough so that you can be a potentially happy employee as well. Am I talking out of my head here?
I agree with that. It's the same, I think, is wellness. We really want to focus on wellness because a healthy employee makes a healthy company. And so if you take care of yourself, if you sleep well, if you eat nutritious food and you exercise, you just feel better. And if you don't, you just wake up in the morning and you're just groggy and you're slow and it's hard to do anything, even on your day off. So I think wellness has a big role also, providing wellness opportunities, encouraging employees through incentives, non-cash or cash, to take their health seriously and make decisions today that will give them not only longevity, but that will give them wellness long term.
And I would say, I agree, attitude, Basically, you choose to either be in a bad mood or a good mood, and it's really ultimately up to the employee. As Dr. Meadows said, we can provide the environment. I can't motivate you. It has to come from inside. So as long as you provide that environment, provide them with the tools they need. As Valiena said, the incentives that you provide will all help contribute to that, but ultimately it's up to the employee.
And I'll hire somebody who's got can-do, will-do, and may not be
Yes.
quite as experienced in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd rather have good attitude than experience, because I can train you to be a good employee.
No, both is nice.
Both is nice, but either or, I'll take attitude first. I had a director that I worked with when I worked for General Motors who once said to me that the key to a good relationship is the selection process, because after that, everything else is training.
Sounds like marriage again.
And I said, and then I got married, and 30 years later, I'm beginning to realize how insightful a comment that was. Yeah, if we select well, then everything else is just about training, right? Just about training. If we can't force your attitude, but we can hire good attitude. And once we've got good attitude inside of an organization, we can put the stuff in place to retain them.
And that's contagious, and that's something that each individual exclusively controls. All of us have stuff in our life that's not positive, but you check it at the door. You use work as your haven, you know, and then we all have things we deal with during work, after work, whatever, but you can use that as your safe place and as your place to be positive and to be optimistic and to be committed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. It looks
Q&A?
like we got the mic circulating.
We ready?
All right.
Yeah,
seat.
this has been a really fun and dynamic panel,
you.
so I want to thank all the panelists. Can we give them a round of applause? Just a quick note so everyone knows, we do post the videos of this panel as well as our previous panels on the Economic Development website for the City of Sterling Heights, and I know Macomb County puts them out as well. So if you want to revisit this panel or check out any of our previous panels where we talked about recruitment and training, those are available to you as well. So now we're going to move into the Q&A session. I'm sure there's lots of questions out there from all of you. We're going to walk around with a hand mic. Please make sure you have the mic because it will be difficult to hear without the mics. So questions?
I thought that some of your comments on attitude were very insightful, and you mentioned that that's something during the recruiting process. If you can get that nailed down, then the rest is training. What are some ideas or some of the practices that you have in place to identify attitude that isn't just, I'm well behaved for the interview?
Everyone's well behaved for the interview. We use a series of collaborations whereby one individual will perform a telephone interview, another individual will perform a face-to-face interview, and then the senior manager will perform a final interview. So even if the applicant might not be having a great day, it still gets 3 people involved in the interview process, so the good, the bad, the ugly all shakes out. We have also recently begun using a performance evaluation, a performance, like a personality assessment to job description, whereby you would input specific characteristics that are very important to this job, and you would rank them 1, 2, or 3. The individual takes a test, it's about an hour, and you go through it, and it really assesses their personality against the requirements of this position, and it identifies, how quickly are they to learn and grasp new things. It does a complete assessment of where their strengths and their opportunities for improvement lie, and then it's a great tool because you can do a follow-up interview and then question those areas. For instance, if someone is a bit of a slow learner, you can ask, how have they found that they've best learned in the past? Is it through seeing? Is it through doing? Is it through watching someone else and being on the job hand in hand, having a mentor, something like that? So it creates a lot of opportunity, and it also spreads the risk, and collaboration is just a really good way to make business decisions.
And I'll comment on that. So we've all had that employee that interviewed outstanding, and then they get to work and they have a terrible behavior attitude. So I think it's key to really ask those behavior questions. We usually do a panel interview, so that way you get insight from each of the employees that are interviewing. And we actually have employees, so if we're hiring for a manufacturing operator, our HR department will bring in other operators that will be on that panel, so they can get a good sense of how the person's interviewing. But I really do think behavioral questions help answer. It's a good reflection of how they'll perform in the future. So that's kind of what we do at Dupont.
Yeah, and by behavioral, we mean you give the person a scenario. Tell me about a situation in which you had to remove a member from a team. Tell me about a situation where you were faced with a crisis and had to make a decision, because that gives us some insight into how they think.
There are also situations where you have employees that have worked for you for a long time, and maybe you did not have these incentive programs or the great programs that you have now, and so perhaps they are good workers, but maybe they're bitter and frustrated about what has happened to them. What do you guys suggest, as opposed to just firing people, is a good way to get them re-energized and re-motivated towards the job?
Go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
The first thing is get them engaged. You want them to feel like they are contributing to the business. So they really need to be understanding of the job that they do, how does it contribute to the bottom line. So I think to make sure they're very understanding of that. You also might want to have a coach or a mentor assigned to them to kind of help them through that process, because we all work with those kind of employees. They've been there 30 years, they do a great job, they have a terrible attitude, and they don't want to get involved in anything. So it's really understanding their personality, really connecting with the person, find out what their interests are and make that connection. And when you do that and you have them working with that appropriate coach is really what I like to do, because that way they're coming to the answer themselves. You're just kind of helping them pull out that information. And when you make that connection, then you're building that trust. And eventually, if they truly want to stay employed there, they will turn around and start becoming more engaged.
But it does take a lot of effort.
Yes.
A lot of time.
Yeah, and part of that might be the fact that it's taken them a while to get your attention, and we all crave that attention as well. So when I had an employee like that, I started off by saying, well, let me just say that the organization has grown quite a bit, and you've grown with it. And I realized that somewhere along the way we probably, we just kind of missed a communication or two, for which I apologize. But let's talk about how we move forward. I'm really interested in your ideas for the continuous growth of the organization as well.
And that is so key, to ask their opinion. A lot of times they think we know, or we think we know, but you never know for certain unless you ask the questions.
My organization utilizes or relies on a temporary workforce. Actually, about 80 to 90% are temps. And I've been challenged with retaining temps and trying to immerse them within our organizational culture. I don't know if any of you have any experience in a temporary workforce, and as you can imagine, we have high turnover, so I'm looking for creative ways to retain temps.
Not my area of expertise.
So we do. We don't have a lot. You do have to be careful, as you're aware of the co-employment law. So what we've done in the past, let's say we have a temporary employee that they've gone above and beyond and we want to recognize them. We wouldn't do it from Dupont, but we would work with their agency to say, hey, this person has gone above and beyond. We'd like to do some type of recognition. Maybe we want to give them a gift card. Maybe it's a night on the town. We can write up a nice letter that would go in their file, and then through their agency, we work with them. So you always want them to feel part of the team, and I think it's important not to forget to recognize those employees as well.
See, I think you're set up from the beginning just by the word temp, because it suggests this is not, this isn't going to last very long. I'm just kind of here for the moment. So maybe even sometimes just changing the wording to, I don't know, contributor or something like that. Just to change the mindset, because you just said right from the beginning that, yes, I know you're going to be here for a minute or two or whatever, and we'd like to strengthen that relationship a little bit. Must be close to.
How do you get everyone in the organization to understand that it's not just HR's job to retain great employees? It is actually...
Whoa, I love that one. I love that one. Say it. Say it.
So I'm just wondering, or looking for some suggestions on how do you get everyone to work from a team perspective and not just put it on management or, again, HR?
You
Why
want-
don't you take it?
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked me. No, I understand. Been there, done that, I understand that. I think part of what I learned along the way was that I had to start positioning my boss and other managers to begin to take on some of those, what appear to be HR duties, because it's too easy to kind of delegate that kind of stuff to us. So what I found is I started putting myself in those key strategic meetings. I just started inviting myself to those meetings where they were having discussion and dialogue about big things that were going on. And it was there I was able to influence the operation by saying, well, but whenever they say that's an HR issue, I'd go, but that's not an HR issue. That's an organizational issue in which a manager or supervisor needs to address that. My role in human resources is to support your effort to do that, not to actually do it for you. And believe me, that's a transition of mind, it's a transition of activities as well. Because from an HR standpoint, oftentimes it's just easier to say, okay, I'll just get it done, because you know you get it done, but it doesn't serve the organization in the long run. So some of that's got to be pushed back by the HR person. And some of that I found that if I wait to be invited, I don't get invited. But if I just go ahead and sit down, most times people never ask the question, why are you there? They just figure you're supposed to be there. And when someone says, well, why are you here? I'm here for the meeting. Why are you here?
And it does take a village to raise a child, okay? So even like, the recruiting program that I mentioned a little bit earlier, when people feel like they can get involved and they can help select their peers, they'll really help those peers once selected to thrive in the organization. So if they have skin in the game, you know what I mean? It makes everything better. Good, bad, or ugly, no matter how big the challenges are, if they feel like they're involved and they're important, they'll work together as a team to successfully accomplish the corporation's goals.
Mm-hmm. You got to tell your managers, managers have to deal with people problems. That's not an HR problem. If it's a people problem, it's an organizational problem. Our job is to figure out what's the best strategy to address it.
And the thing that I found is most managers don't know how. So it's really important to invest in that training and development with role plays, seminars, webinars, whatever works for them to help them understand this is how you do it. The words you choose, how you deliver that message is key. So it's really important that you invest in them and help them develop to find out if that is one of their opportunities for development, put things in place to help them to be able to achieve that.
Mm-hmm. And when you promote supervisors and managers, don't just promote them because they are good at turning the whistle. Make sure they know how to work with people. I'm always amazed at the number of managers who say, I really hate working with people. Then I keep, well, I don't understand why you're in this role.
It's prevalent.
It's prevalent, yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, we promise to be prompt and get you out of here on time. We just have a few closing comments from Jim Ahi, so we're going to complete the panel and let Jim wrap us up, and thank you all for coming.
Great round of applause for this panel. Wow.
Right.
It has been very, very good. And my question to you would be, is this trend that you guys have, well, first of all, I've seen this county, and I know all the manufacturers, they can do almost anything when it comes to manufacturing. The demonstration of leadership and knowledge you guys have about your HR resources, again, shows us how far advanced this community is in terms of what we do here. So thank you very, very much. I can't wait for this business trend to go into county government. I probably just lost my job, but anyway, no. Anyway, a couple quick things. Please don't forget to fill out the survey in your packet there, and then hand it in at the door. I understand Casey's taking names and numbers if you don't put your survey at the door, so please do that. It also gives us feedback so we can go forward and help you get these sessions so that they're topics that you want. I guess there's another Hot Topics session on the 22nd of March, which is on exporting, so I understand there's supposed to be some invitations coming out on that as well, so please watch your email for that. It's in the folder? Okay. Other than that, one other thing. Macomb County has started a LinkedIn account called Macomb Manufacturers. It is dedicated just to manufacturers in Macomb County. It gives you a forum to express whatever you want to do on that thing. So please, if you're interested, join it. We would love to have you there. The other thing, just a little plug for what we do. If you are a manufacturer, you are growing, which most of them are today. If you need any help or have any questions about incentives, training, recruiting, whatever, please call our office or contact Casey. We'll be more than happy to come out and let you know what's going on and how we can help you. With that, again, I want to thank you all for showing up today. Have a great afternoon, and I think that's it. Thank you.